said I don't want to investigate this house anymore, but the thing is, they're not leaving me alone. Is anybody in here? Screenshots on me to show people that that's not me doing the EVP sound. Oh my fucking god! That's them. Son of a... When we made the decision to move to Carmel, Maine, I was thinking to myself, this is going to be a nice, peaceful, quiet life.
Kent moved to Carmel with his wife in an attempt to escape the noisy and busy life of the city, which he spent most of his life in.
We decided once we moved here, we were going to go ahead and live in the camper to save money and eventually get a house.
Kent spent the first 2 years of Carmel living in a camper, as he was working as a restaurant manager and his wife was working at the local mini mart. Eventually, the camper life got old for them and the winters were like extremely harsh. So they both agreed it was time to find a place to rent. So Kent's wife finds this old house one day on the walk home from work.
My wife told me that a house came up for rent next to the mini mart where she worked. She said it was a small old house.
Kent does go on record to say that he never even stepped foot in the house, never even seen the house before. So the day that they moved in, the day that he signed that lease, got the keys and moved in, was the first time that he ever set foot in the house. And then it wasn't just Kent and his wife at that time staying in the house. It was also Kent's son Joshua, and I'm assuming his son's friend Gary. It's never really made clear if Gary is also his son or if Gary is just like a friend of the family, but he's living in the house too. Joshua's living in the house, Kent's living in the house, and Kent's wife is living in the house. So 4 people in the house. They were really excited to move in when it was finally time for them to get there. And, you know, because they had been living in the camper for so long and this had sucked for them. But now that it was time, you know, to actually get moved into the house, it was like a big deal. They were super excited about that. But the problem with that is there was only 4 living human beings in this house. To find out, the deeper we go into the series, there are multiple spirits residing within this house too.
I take the day off from work so we can get moved into the house. I was really tired that night after unpacking and moving heavy furniture, and it was just very, very exhausting. So I went to bed that night, and I ended up waking up late, and I was running late for work. I had to open up the restaurant. I had the keys to the restaurant, and I had to be there at a specific time. So I was quickly getting dressed as fast as I could, getting ready to go out the door. While I was getting dressed, a little knick-knack horse that was sitting on the dresser flew off the dresser and landed on the bed right in front of me. And I said, okay, that's a little strange. And I was jokingly telling my wife, I guess his house is haunted.
So obviously Kent, he just kind of ignores this. He's, you know, oh, the stress of everything, the move, and, you know, I'm just seeing stuff.
Yeah. So had to cut the box spring in half and then modify it and put it all back together. This is about, I don't know, this house makes strange noises, I notice. One night, a loud bang woke me up. I got up, I went downstairs, and I was just sitting there on the couch listening. And I started hearing some weird sounds. This is before I even believed in the paranormal. I turned my cell phone camera on just to try to capture these strange sounds. I'm like, what is this?
Well, over the next couple months, Joshua and Gary and his wife started to tell them about hearing voices, footsteps, and random noises like things moving around the house when nobody else was home.
Isn't that coat flammable?
Yeah.
Isn't that coat flammable?
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. It is.
Using your key twice. She doesn't like it. Like a little...
And this freaked Gary out so much that he would start going to the mini mart where Kent's wife was working just to be away from the house. And Kent does go on record to admit that he was also hearing voices and hearing footsteps and hearing things moving around the house and stuff. But he does recall multiple times in the middle of the night when he would get up to use the bathroom, he felt like somebody was watching him. He also says that he would constantly hear a female voice behind him. And he definitely would hear footsteps and other noises, which he would just assume was an old house selling. And honestly, me too. That's just what I would assume too, because I just don't want to accept there's a ghost in the house. So it's not a ghost. It's just an old house settling. And Ken says that he never really believed in the paranormal, but for 3 years, him and his family would all experience the strangeness of this house, and they just couldn't explain any of it. And for the most part, nobody was ever even really home during the day. Everybody worked, except for Gary, but then Gary got so freaked out that he was hanging out with Kent's wife up at the mini-mart. What really changed for Kent, what made him really like start diving into this and like investigating this, is the fact that he had suffered an injury at work and was like forced to stay home. So he would be at home by himself.
I ended up getting injured, and because of the injury, I couldn't work. Now I was home in this house full time. Before, with all the hours I worked, I didn't spend a lot of hours during the day in this house, but what time I did spend in this house, I noticed a lot of strange things that just didn't sound right.
And that is really when Kent started to notice everything that was taking place inside of the house.
Joshua and Gaz was telling me that people told them that they lived in this house once, and the house is definitely haunted. One night, while sleeping in bed, loud footsteps coming up the stairs. And I'm not talking stomping loud. I'm talking the stairs popping and crackling loud. And that sound was coming closer and closer to the door. And then it passed the door and was in the room. And then I heard the female voice said, "Help me." And I looked at the back of my wife's head. My back was turned to the closet. I looked at my wife's head and I was thinking, okay, she was talking in her sleep. So I laid my head back down and I was staring at the back of her head to make sure that, you know, if she is talking in her sleep, I want to know that it's her and I'm not hearing things. Suddenly there is this tapping on my hip. And the female voice then says, "Help me, Kent." The next day, I started taking pictures and started recording to see if I can capture whatever was going on recording to make sure that this wasn't in my head. Are you here? Hello? Are you here? The lady that said help me?
So, for whatever reason, neither us, nor Kent, nor his wife, nor his son, nor Gary understand what's really going on. I mean, this female spirit is literally calling out to Kent for help. And this is when he really starts to investigate what's happening. The spirit, or spirits, have repeatedly asked for help. And it makes me wonder why. Like, what did they need help with? Why is that something that we hear them say so often is help? Help us, help me, help them. Why are they saying these things? Secondly, the voice that says this, it comes across as being, like, aggravated, and I wonder why. Like, is this particular spirit upset that Kent is attempting to communicate with them? Or is it that Kent is communicating with the spirits, calling out for help, that is upsetting them? Does this spirit not want Kent to communicate with the spirits that need help? And third, Udman. We have our first name that is not related to Kent and his family, and I think we should keep that in mind moving forward, because names are going to become very important in this documentary. This is just a warning. Looking back on this now, after I had already wrote this script, there's a lot of spirits in this house, and I'm going to do my best to keep track of everything. But there is a whole story to this house, and all of these names are important.
Took a lot of snapshots, and in the snapshots, we did see some strange things we could not explain.
We get to see a collection of still images that Kent took during his initial investigation. Now, whether this is pareidolia or not is up to the viewer, but for the sake of the video, let's just imagine this is real. Let's imagine this was your life and you're in your new home and all of this freaky stuff is happening to you. How would you feel if you were Kent? I know I'd be freaked the fuck out.
I started paying attention to what was going on. That's when I started noticing a lot more. And I started recording. Alright, show early clips. Once I verified okay. Who's the lady, the female, that woke me up in the night and said, help me? And then she said, help me, Kent. Who was that? Hello? I just heard your voice. What did you say? Who's with you? What's their name? Can you show yourself in an orb? Doors opening and closing. Can you show yourself in an orb? Okay, now you see it. Anybody here today? Was that you? Hello? What the hell? Hello? Hello? What? Hello? Hello?
So after this footage, we have another name, Edward. Spirits, plural, spirits, and get out of here, Kent. Something, at least from what I can understand, is something is trying to warn Kent. I just wonder like who this voice is, and also, could we consider this voice to be a good spirit? And also, if that's the case that there are good spirits, can we also assume that there are bad spirits as well?
Without even thinking about the consequences, I end up doing something really stupid. I hear you guys talking, but why don't I ever see you guys? Why all the voices, but yet you never appear in front of me? I don't even know what you are. Why don't you just start appearing in front of me so I can see you? Still shot pictures just don't cut it. I don't even know if I believe it. I'm full of doubt now. Full of doubt of what you are. So why can't you just appear? After I dared these spirits to appear in front of me, things started changing real quick. Hello?
And there it is. There is our first full body apparition. And this is the thing that brought me to Ghost of Carmel Maine and kept me like so hooked on it, is that these full body apparitions are just the thing of nightmare. This is the type of stuff you never ever want to see ever. Doesn't matter if it's your house or at your job or at the park. You don't want to see these type of things because they are just, I would piss my pants. I'm just being real. I would piss my pants if I ever seen anything like this. This is just the first one that we see. And what kind of happens in this series is that the deeper that Kent gets into this investigation, the more stuff that he uncovers, the mysteries of the Lamb House, the worse this stuff is going to get.
The hell? What the hell? The hell is that? Hope you guys say something or do something. Oh my God! No! What the hell is that noise? Son of a...
Now, at this point, we can see that Kent has really fucked up. He has really shook up the hornet's nest. He has really poked the bear. He's really stepping on the ghost's toes at this point in the series. Because what the fuck was that? So after demanding the spirit to show itself, the spirit shows itself. And what's crazy about this too is Ken isn't just seeing this on the camera, he's also seeing them with his own eyes, which I also think is pretty compelling too.
My oldest son Michael had been watching a lot of these recordings, and he talked to me about getting a PSB 7 spirit box. I didn't know anything about spirit boxes. Didn't know how they worked, didn't even know what they were used for. I ended up watching a few paranormal shows to find out about the spirit box. In all honesty, I wasn't big on using a spirit box. In my opinion, to me, it wasn't credible evidence of the paranormal. I also did some reading. There's a university out of the UK that they said they debunked a spirit box, that it does not work. There's no proof that a spirit box can be used for paranormal investigations and that spirits use them. Well, my son ended up sending me a PSB 7 anyway. I got the PSB 7 in. I hooked it all up. When I tested it out, I wasn't recording the very first time. I was just curious and was testing it. And when I heard a female voice say, "Hi, Kent," very clear in it, I was like, okay, you know what? I definitely heard that. Anybody want to talk right in here? Where is everybody? I decided to go ahead and run it just as fast as you can run it on 100 milliseconds. When I did that, I didn't hear anything. When I went back to view the recording and heard what was captured, I was in shock. I was in complete disbelief because what was captured, I did not hear those voices during the recording in real time. Although I still had some doubts that lingered about the spirit box, something happened during a spirit box session that laid these doubts to rest once and for all. What was captured convinced me spirits do use the static energy coming from this device. I found what this spirit said was quite disturbing. And if you're not good, and you're evil, your day in hell is coming. I knew right then and there that these spirits in this house were able to use the spirit box in order to communicate. The spirit box became a major tool in trying to find out what these spirits are trying to tell me. Is there anybody here?
The thing that gets me about this too, the Lamb House, is that there's some of the most haunted places in the world where, because of the temperature and the environment and the people and the moon and like just all different types of factors, you go in there and it's the most haunted place ever. Then there's other nights you go in there and nothing. It's as if the building's not even haunted. It's just kind of creepy. But here in the Lamb House, it's all the time. It's consistent. It's happening every night, according to Kent. So, as a paranormal investigator, this place is like the gold mine. I mean, you don't get better than this. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer in the paranormal, like, this is what you want if you're a paranormal investigator of any type. You want to go into a place and you want to be bombarded with activity, because it's hard to disprove it. And then something else that, like, we can observe at this point in the documentary is that the voices, which were once like super faint, kind of can't make them out. Like, you have the subtitle and you just go, oh, well, I assume that's what it says. You can really start to hear them now. And this just isn't EVP either. An EVP would be an electric voice phenomenon. And it's not just EVP. He's hearing them with his own ears.
Shut this off for a second because I'm hearing a lot of disembodied voices right up next to me. Who's in here? Hello? Can you tell me who you are? What's your name? Hello? Who's in here tonight? Something happened in this house. Something happened that was so hideous that it left a lot of residual energy here, and I believe there's the ghost of a female crying out for help. It was that bad. I don't know what happened yet. I'm not sure what happened, but I do know something did happen. I believe that there was a man that once lived in this house that had a serious attitude problem and probably did something horrible either to his wife, daughter. Something happened. These are the only conclusions I can come up with based on the stuff that I'm hearing, and it's all coming together now that something went on in this house back in the day. Is the reason why there's paranormal activity here is because something's trying to get our attention, that somebody needs help, Or is it residual energy where they're crying out for help back in the day? Something's not right. After a few months of doing recordings and listening to what was captured, and then after using the spirit box, I was starting to learn more names. One of the names that kept coming up was Rachel, Anna, Naomi. Back then, in the beginning, I had no idea who these people were, or why they were even here, and why their names were even mentioned. Alright, so, I tried to do a brief walk around this house. What you got? Little by little, I started piecing together that something terrible happened to some of these females. Anna, I never did find out about her, but Rachel, Naomi, I did find out what happened to them. Although I started capturing a lot of evidence and started piecing together what these spirits were saying, I still had a lot of distrust. I still wasn't sure about this paranormal activity. I didn't know what it was. I still had a lot of questions. Are these actual ghosts? Or is this just all demonic? What was going on here was beyond anything I've ever witnessed in my life. There was a side of me that was so scared what was going on. I wanted to shut this all down. But then there was a side of me that was so curious, I had to know. Everything went from capturing the evidence on recording to now picking up the camera to start doing investigations to figure out what this is, to figure out what's going on. There was enough going on here and enough captured on camera that I had no doubt that the paranormal's real. I passed the phase of trying to prove to myself that it's real. And now it was time to dig in and investigate. This is when I started asking more questions, digging deep into what's going on in this house and who these spirits are. One of the most common phrases these spirits said was, "Help me." They informed me they were dead. Hello?
As we start to piece all of these things together, we're kind of, as the viewer, left in the same state that Kent is right now, which is just more questions than answers. Clearly, from what we've gathered so far, something terrible has happened at Lamb House. Something so awful that the people that passed away here can't move on, and they're still crying out for help. And, secondly, I think there's something here that doesn't want us to find out what these things need help from and what happened at this house. And whatever that spirit is still attached to this house to make sure that those secrets are never uncovered. Meanwhile, the ghost here that had these horrible things happen to them, or these awful tragic things happen, they want people to know. I mean, you can hear them, help us, help them, spirits, help. They want somebody to know what happened here. Furthermore, you can call me dramatic for saying this, but I don't think it was a coincidence that brought Kent and his family to this house. I don't think it was a coincidence that right when they were ready to move out of that trailer, they had saved up enough money, put in enough extra shifts to actually move, that the house goes up for rent that same time, and it's right next to the mini mart where Kent's wife works at. How could that possibly be a coincidence? Especially considering how much these spirits want to communicate with Kent. With that being said, I think Kent was in the right place at the right time. But it was almost kind of like it was his fate to move into this house and uncover what had happened here. But we will have to continue our journey with Kent and the Ghost of Carmel, Maine in the next video. And trust me, you're gonna be if you like this kind of stuff, you're gonna want to be here for it, because it just gets crazier and crazier. This is something that I had been working on for the past like 2 years on and off. I keep coming back to this because I feel like nobody talks about this series. It's super underground, it's super niche, and it is one of the craziest ghost stories I have ever seen, just with how much like evidence and proof there is. And when we get into like the thick of what the story is with this house, I mean, it's insane. It's mind-blowing. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And again, tune in for part 2, because these things just keep getting crazier and crazier.